ถูกต้องเลยถูกต้องเลย
So we're starting. We're just about to start. A couple of things. We're just about to start. Hi, Priscilla. That's all right. I did, but they were talking to technical team. Yes, Faisal. Please, Priscilla's mic.
Yeah.
Yes, so I'm ready to go.
ถูกต้องเลย
Yeah, waiting for you, Priscilla. We're not going live yet.
ถูกต้องเลย
especially in global politics. We've seen the BRICS taking place in South Africa. There was an announcement that Vladimir Putin could potentially be arrested by the International Criminal Court. I wonder how that's going to happen. Nevertheless, the US is also across the continent of Africa. They've been accused of trying to strengthen relationships with Africa because of China and Russia's influence. But according to Kamala Harris, that's not the case. She was in Ghana to combat terrorism, and the US will help to facilitate that. Let's take a quick listen to what she had to say when she went to Ghana. Okay, it looks as if the footage is not ready yet, but we'll come to it very, very soon. I'm sure that my guests here, you're very well in tune with what's going on, and I think I'll come to you first, Priscilla. Ladies first. You know, we're gentlemen. Well, I like to think I'm a gentleman.
I agree with you. You are.
Okay. So is this something that Africans need to be concerned about?
I think so. I think if Africans are concerned, then it's understood. It's to be expected because the US are saying they're going to give 100 million, and we're talking 5 countries here. As soon as I saw that, something just came to mind, which was that not so long ago, the US were there was a conversation with US and Ghana about an army base, and there was a matter of $20 million. And suddenly, $100 million, 5 countries, $20 million to Ghana. I don't know. I just began wondering.
Good maps, by the way. Good maps. But it looks as if we have the we have the footage ready. Let's take a quick listen to this.
Welcome, all our young leaders, all the leaders. Thank you for this warm welcome on behalf of my husband, the second gentleman of the United States. And of course, we bring you greetings from the President of the United States, Joe Biden, and the First Lady, Jill Biden. What an honor it is to be here in Ghana and on the continent of Africa. Today begins a week-long journey, first here in Ghana, then on to Tanzania, and then Zambia. On behalf of the President and our entire nation, we bring you greetings, and we are looking forward to this trip as a further statement of the long and enduring and very important relationship and friendship between the people of the United States and those who live on the continent of Africa. I'm very excited about the future of Africa. I'm very excited about the impact of the future of Africa on the rest of the world, including the United States of America. When I look at what is happening on this continent and the fact that the median age is 19 years old, and what that tells us about the growth of opportunity, of innovation, of possibilities, I see in all of that great opportunity, not only for the people of this continent, but the people of the world, especially when we understand that by the year 2050, we believe 1 in 4 people on Earth will be on the continent of Africa. So I am here to address some of the issues that relate to the partnership between this continent, its people, and the people of the United States, and to reinforce the work that we will continue to do together, be that on addressing the climate crisis, to supply chains, to our work together on international rules and norms. In particular on this trip, I intend to do work that is focused on increasing investments here on the continent and facilitating economic growth and opportunity, specifically in the areas of economic empowerment of women and girls, empowerment of youth entrepreneurship, digital inclusion, and to support the work that must be done to increase food security, including adaptation to the effects of the climate crisis. I look forward to my meetings with President Akufo-Addo, President Samia, and President Hichilema. We will build on the previous meetings I have had with each of them to strengthen democracy and good governance, promote peace and security, build on long-term economic growth, and strengthen our business ties. I also look forward during this visit to meet with entrepreneurs and artists and students and farmers to witness firsthand the extraordinary innovation and creativity that is occurring on this continent and inspiring the world. We have a lot of work ahead of us, and again, I'm so very excited to be here, and I thank you all for the very warm welcome. Thank you.
So that was the Vice President of the United States of America. Maybe come back to you, Priscilla. She set the agenda of the US to help to strengthen democracy, um, which I find a bit comical because I think Ghana has been touted as one of the best democracies in Africa.
Saying $20 million, $20 million increase between as I said, my brain just the light came on saying, how are we going to do this business of we're talking about strengthening democracy, we're talking about fighting terrorism, we're talking about looking at how we're going to do business together. How does that 20 million help us in doing that? Are we going back to building an army base in these 5 countries? And if so, is that really the right way to go? What lessons has America and the rest of us learned from Afghanistan, from Libya? We have the issue in the Sahel region at the moment because of Libya. And what did America do in Libya? They took out Gaddafi. the moment they took out Gaddafi. Libya is a war zone from what we've all come to learn. And so I don't see this, I can't applaud it. I can't get excited about it because I think that we need to understand the terms and the conditions. And $20 million per country, it's small.
Julius?
My thinking is very different. If America, if any country in the West wants to help Africa, start by canceling the debt of African countries. Permanently cancel it. Because when you come and tell us you're giving us 100 million, to me, ordinary folks in Africa, it doesn't make any sense. At the end of it all, you see, you're looking at it. A government may be given that, but there's no accountability from the government. How it is spent, how it is used remains mystery. And therefore, of what use is it? And when you look into America, what time is it? Are they trying to jump into the African continent? See, Africa is the future of the world, and every big player wants to jump there before the other. And we are seeing contestation between the Russian, the Chinese, and you have now the Western countries, the Europeans, America trying also to say, African, we can be friends. So I'm saying that if any Western country wants to help Africa, number one, cancel the debt of Africa. And when you cancel the debt, at least that can impact upon many lives in Africa.
It's not just the debt. Let's retune what we do at the IMF as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Because did you know, that's what I was coming into. When you look into the World Bank or so-called Bretton Woods institutions, IMF, World Bank, did you know that it costs less for America or any European country to borrow from that country, but it costs an African country much more? Why is that? So we need to see tangible results. We need to see people who are serious. If they want to help Africa, begin by canceling the debts. As for the terrorism, we just saw Western African countries, Mali and also Senegal, some of them kicking out the French.
Yeah.
So now we don't want to see French troops gone being replaced by American troops. So the fight against terrorism, I want to advocate something very different, which is a different strategy. African countries under the auspices of African Union, they need to get their act together. They need to stand firm. They need to fight all these terror activities. It's hilarious. It's annoying to even talk about now Democratic Republic of Congo, the presence of ISIS. What on earth are they doing there?
Absolutely.
Are they misplaced? I mean, we don't talk ISIS in Democratic Republic of Congo. You know what I mean? So it's all under the auspices of African unity. African leaders, they have to take their action together under the auspices of African Union and come up with Africa Defense Force. So whenever there's a problem in any African country, all these defense force, African oriented, they know the ground, they know the terrain. Go and deal with it. Forget about leaving the West to solve your problems, because they never do.
Is it a thing of division across the continent? Because if I'm not mistaken, it looks as if countries are actually taking positions now. A few days ago, China held a forum talking about democracy, and you had many African countries actually bashing the West and the implementation of democracy. And I quote, I think it was the president of Zambia. I quote him as saying that, there's an old saying that all roads leads to Rome, but now all humanity and progress leads to Beijing.
I think the Zambian president he's been on a journey for a moment. He's taken a very strong stand against the West, and as far as he's concerned, they are very hypocritical to come to dictate what we should be doing, whether it's Zambia, Nigeria, Ghana, wherever, when they do not. I mean, let's face it, they're very quick at screaming and shouting at everyone else's human rights records, but their human rights records here in the United Kingdom, even to our own citizens, are quite appalling. The Zambian president has taken a stand, and so has many others. And it's not just a matter of China having come in, as we've seen, as Julius mentioned. We know that the francophone countries are now really saying no. We've had enough with France. We want you out. We no longer want to send our money to your central bank. We want to have autonomy and be our own sovereign nation as we are, and rightly so. And the whole Ukrainian situation where they've tried to drag African countries into that war, and African countries are saying it doesn't concern us. Why must we go to war with Russia? We do not want to participate in this. And I think that whole hold that the West once upon a time was able to have, they're no longer able to do that. They're no longer able to singularly generate that narrative where we all hear one side of the story and believe it. We're in a season right now where there are so many things happening. There's also the matter of the US dollar, and the fact that the dollar is no longer going to be that singular currency that we all bow to in the world, as it were. The yen is coming up, and Nigeria had signed up to the yen actually a few years ago. President Buhari had signed up to the yen. This was, I think, about 3 or 4 years ago. He did that, and at that time it didn't seem to make sense, but it's starting to make sense now, because the BRIC countries are now saying we're going to move away from trading in the US dollar as we once did, and we're going to refocus what we do now. And Russia and China, big countries, are coming together, forming a partnership, one which America and Europe are not happy about because they're currently at war with Russia. So I think we all need to keep an eye out and protect ourselves, rightly so. All the other countries, the African countries, need to protect themselves, because what concerns them with this war.
And I'm going to come to you, Julius, because what Priscilla's saying, we need to protect ourselves, the African countries. How? Because it looks as if some are siding with China, the rest are also siding with the US. And is that nice?
I think when I think of Africa in this confused global setup, I think Africa should adopt the behavior of a young man who drives a car for a ride, a joyrider. I'll coin it that way. Because at the end of it all, if you apply these rules, they don't work.
Right.
Are they rules that you have to be pro-China, pro-Russia, pro-this and all that? Yet again, remember, there are penalties of these alliances. When any Western country say you are our ally, they don't want to see you dealing with another one. These alliances are totally different from our political alliances in Africa, because those are not founded on serious foundation. You can actually be voted on one party, and when you get to parliament, you change party.
We have flexibility. We have flexibility.
It's happening in Africa.
I know. We have flexibility. Julius.
Exactly.
Yes.
But these alliances of Western countries demanding an alliance with an African country, they are very punitive. They are like, you are an American ally. They don't want to see you dealing with China. It's only one country that I saw successfully handling China and America at the same time. That's Djibouti. Djibouti is the only country in Africa where you find American military base and China's military base in one country. So
everybody just respects themselves.
So I think that formula works. At the end of it all, this serious extreme position each country has, like right now globally, when you look into the world, is divided immediately to Russia, China on one side, then the Western Europe and America on the other side. Immediately, NATO allied countries together, China, Russia together. So when you see that dimension, you're like, who are you going to support? And it depends on your history with each country.
That's right.
So,
okay. This is Talk Africa. Do you continue to join us? We're taking a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue with our discussions. We'll be back shortly.
Share this with me, please. I need to forward it to someone.
Leatherback helps you move your money securely from one country to another with ease. With over 20 currencies to choose from, including Indian rupee, naira, Ghanaian cedi, and US dollar, with Leatherback you can move money anytime, anywhere. Simply sign up, verify your identity, and you're ready to add money to your account. Leatherback is licensed in 4 countries, and with full visibility of your cash flow via our dashboard, you're in control. One access, one platform, one world. Download the Leatherback app and let the journey begin.
Mommy's a real hero.
Tropical sun flavors of the world to your table.
Leatherback helps you move your money securely from one country to another with ease. With over 20 currencies to choose from, including Indian rupee, naira, Ghanaian cedi, and US dollar, with Leatherback you can move money anytime, anywhere. Simply sign up, verify your identity, and you're ready to add money to your account. Leatherback is licensed in 4 countries, and with full visibility of your cash flow via our dashboard, you're in control. One access, one platform, one world. Download the Leatherback app and let the journey begin.
I am so hungry. This aroma is killing me.
Thank you, Daddy, huh?
200 gram plastic.
Whether you're looking for poundo in your crayfish stock, all-purpose seasoning, or any other ingredient, Tropical Sun has everything you need.
Hey, no. Take the panties, young, a strong young man. And hero.
Mommy's a real hero.
Tropical Sun flavors of the world to your table.
Welcome back to the program. If you're just joining us, before we went on a break, we were talking about the fact that the US is pledging $100 million to help the continent of Africa to battle, to combat rather, terrorism. And in the studio today, we have Julius Beluto and also Priscilla Nwekbo. I just want to highlight one particular thing. Every time, and the moment you talk about this, and I think many people will agree there's an element of truth in this. Whenever the US have said that we want to promote or strengthen democracy, we want to bring peace and stability, there's a negative connotation to this. So when this was said in Ghana, many people started thinking, what is going on here? Because we had the same thing, particularly when it came to Iraq and also Afghanistan, most recently, and Libya.
Yeah, and the thing is that democracy, the original definition of democracy, whatever rule of the people, by the people and for the people, it originated from the US. But over the years, it's no longer the same case. When you talk about democracy as US speaking, it doesn't even make any sense. We've seen extreme things happen over there. How about the January 6th and Donald Trump?
Yes.
If we were to talk about democracy, giving that aspect. At one point in my life, I wanted to call international observers from Africa to go and mediate in the US domestic problems. So when you look into that, you say, where is this democracy going? And you're right. When you say strengthen, this presumption that it's not there, democracy is not there. They want to strengthen. But who is going to strengthen? You give what you have. And when it comes to America trying to do anything to bring democracy, there's no history, there's no good history about it. Yes, I'll never forget talking to Jedediah Fraser, the former US African secretary, way back, talking about Somalia. Say, yeah, okay. So yeah, you called us, you're going to talk to us about US policy about Africa in the future. Now that you're Secretary General, what are you going to do about Somalia? Say, we are going to intervene militarily. How democratic is intervening militarily? So the history doesn't really back up the claims. We want to say that when we talk about democracy, is controversial. I grew up in Africa believing in democracy. Yeah, I was a great advocate. I would jump up and say free expression, everything. I would chant slogans like in South Africa. Yeah, making the noises. Hoi, hoi, yeah, I used to do all those things. But when I came to the UK, I realized the head of state was not elected. I gave up.
What about you, Priscilla?
Wow, what about me?
Yeah.
I mean, I think I understand people's skepticism, and rightly so, because as Julius has just reminded us, when the U.S. speaks about democracy and coming to strengthen democracy or coming to keep peace, as recently as Afghanistan, we saw what happened there. We're also seeing live what's going on in Libya. Iraq has never recovered. And it was all in the name of democracy. So I think we're all warming up now to questioning the use of the word, and being able to say, can we take it seriously? Because, what this has meant for others has been loss of lives, has been unnecessary wars, has been, devastation to countries. And so when she speaks, saying that when she speaks those words, the alarm bell goes off, because then it becomes the question is, oh, this is more of a language of war and not of democracy? Because yes, we speak about democracy, the need for democracy, strengthening democracy, but we don't actually practice it. We're not practicing democracy as we should practice democracy, whether it's in the US or whether we're speaking here in the UK or on the African continent. So, we banter that word around and we use it, but we're not really living or reflecting or permitting the true expression or of the word. And so, hearing that, it does. If alarm bell goes off, people, rightly so. And I don't think that she should be allowed to just say that and just go on. I think we need to get to the bottom.
I agree. I agree with what has been said here, but we can't also overlook the fact that it's all about influence. And again, here we are again. The Westerns, the so-called superpowers, are at it again. If the case may be that right now it looks as if in the global context that there's some sort of division, where are these so-called regional blocs, the ECOWAS, the SADC, and the continental bloc itself, African Union?
Well, this is an opportunity for them to speak up, isn't it? This is an opportunity for them to come together and to recognize, or to at least stand on history, to say that this is how we understand that word, the use of that word or the use of that language. And if that is the kind of democracy, then we do not want, because we should be able to speak up. I think it's fair to say that America's powers are being weakening at the moment. There are a lot of questions surrounding the Ukrainian war going on. And the only president that has come in our lifetime that didn't go to war and didn't want to go to war was Donald Trump. He was the only one that said there was no need for that. Everybody else has been perpetrating, starting, ensuring, and not, they say they care and all of that, but then lives are lost, generations are destroyed, futures are destroyed, and we can't continue the cycle.
And I just want to finally on this, during the press conference, I think it was a journalist from Washington, the Washington Post, and he asked the president of Ghana a few questions. One was about the LGBTQ issue, and then secondly, the fact that Al Qaeda is currently present in Ghana, to which the president refuted. And he pushed the president a bit more, talking about the cooperation between the US and Ghana to combat terrorism. And the president of Ghana said, well, we want partnership, but not a thing where we have foreign troops on our land. And I thought that was more or less, I don't know, I wouldn't say posturing, but to let them know this will not happen here.
Yeah, because when you look at the history of how terror began, yeah, wonderful. We lived in wonderful world. There was trust coming to UK, yeah, Kenya, member of Commonwealth. I just bought like one-way ticket. We didn't require visa. Can you imagine that?
Once
And even
upon
at
a
the
time.
airport, they were so relaxed. Like
That was
I
before
even showed
Swellen
my
came in, isn't it?
KBC ID. I'm like, do you really want the passport? They are like, yeah, you don't mind. So it was relaxed. But after that, countries that were first victims of terror was Kenya and Tanzania. They were bombed simultaneously. Now, what has Kenya got to do with Osama bin Laden aiming at the US? The presence of US embassy in Kenya and Tanzania caused Osama bin Laden and whoever to bomb these embassies. It was actually Tanzanians and Kenyans who died. How do you explain that? They are not part of the war that's being fought. I'm using that to illustrate one point. It's about time African countries must cease to fight wars that are not their wars. It's about time African countries should come together and identify their enemies. And even now, you say, fine, we find some terrorists on the ground in Africa. Ask them, who is your enemy? If your enemy is not an African, can leave, go and fight there. If you are targeting America, whatever, leave Africa, go there. Yeah. So these issues of Somalia, is US who sent a drone, tax Shabab, and next thing they are targeting university student in Kenya. It doesn't make any sense. This world is confused. So we want to unconfuse it. Forgive my English language, which I try to Africanize. But I wanted to say on that note, we need to Africanize democracy. We need to, scholars, researchers, they need to study what should democracy in Africa mean.
Let's just practice it as it was intended in the
We
first
go
place.
back to the drawing board.
Because if we should just practice it as it was intended,
Mm.
we might actually get the benefits.
Well, I think nobody here is denying that the concept of democracy works. It's just that in the context of Africa, there's a lot of gray areas. But we must move on. Also, I think we've covered this topic as well, but things have moved on, and we're asking today, in light of UK's bill or immigration bill, can the UK still be considered a place of tolerance? Now, the bill, which is supposedly to deter migrants from coming into the country, apparently, when migrants do cross the channel and find themselves in this country, they will be detained for 28 days, upon which they will be sent back to the country of origin or be sent to a safe country, being Rwanda. Let's listen to what Suella Braverman had to say.
But their sense of fair play has been tested beyond its limits, and they've seen the country taken for a ride. Their patience has run out. The law-abiding patriotic majority have said, enough is enough. This cannot and will not continue. Their government, this government, must act decisively, must act with determination, must act with compassion, must act with proportion. So make no mistake, this Conservative government, this Conservative Prime Minister will act now to stop the boats. And I commend the statement to the House.
Okay, so of course, this is the policy that the Conservative Party, the government, is actually looking to push through. And if I may add, it was reported a couple of days ago that Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, is actually in support trying to push backbenchers for this bill or the law to go even further to stop or to prohibit asylum seekers from using the Human Rights Act to stop them from being deported.
Jones, the whole system just seems so very confused, because on one hand, we've been, I have to say though, we have been consistently for over 10 years now weaponizing the word immigrants and asylum seekers. We have made it look as though they are the worst thing, it's horrible. But here we are as a country, we are now experiencing challenges as a result of Brexit. And on one hand, we're saying you can come into the country to become a carer. We have lowered the amount of money you need to be earning in order to be able to come into the country. And you work, there are different sectors that you can actually come in for and to do that. And it's fine. You get your visa and you come in and you get work. But then on the other hand, we're criminalizing asylum seekers. We're saying that we want to do away with the Human Rights Act. I mean, I'm just confused, because the Human Rights Act in the first place, were we not the ones who drafted the Human Rights Act and sold it to Europe and everybody else and said, we needed to follow it? So then when we take away the Human Rights Act, then what do we say then about our human rights records? What does that mean for our human rights records? What does that mean for citizens here in the UK? Because it's not just about the asylum seekers. It's about, bringing in a bill to say we can't protest freely. It's about bringing in a bill that prevents us from doing basic things that once upon a time we were used to doing. But then everybody's hearing about this asylum bill. We're not hearing about all those other bills that are being passed. The fact that, we want to implement digital ID, the fact that we want people to, we're curtailing, we're implementing these 15-minute cities now, the smart cities around, the United Kingdom, and people are actually going to be prevented from leaving their homes, going beyond a 15-minute radius. All of these things are things that we should all be participating in the conversation in, but we're so focused on asylum, immigration, Rwanda, that we don't even realize all of these are going on. So it makes me wonder, is this just some kind of distraction?
Well, Julius, earlier you said you remember coming to the UK and everything was relaxed. So if I could ask you, imagine, under the same circumstances, coming to the UK now, how would you feel?
I wouldn't come. I wouldn't bother. See, the thing is, when you look at the changes that have taken place, and it's all about after the terror attacks and the world was on high alert wherever you went, things changed quite a lot. But actually, when you look at the dynamics of human life in this global village we'll call the world, the dynamism of people to be everywhere at the same time, you just see these measures as extremely retrogressive. It's just moving the society backwards, not forwards. Because at the end of it all, we need to deal with this with a bit more civility and realization that we need to be humane. Listen, the thing is, it's not everyone who is a dodgy guy jumping on a funny rickety boat coming to Europe as an economic migrant. No. I just want to surprise a lot of listeners or viewers. Whenever you hear asylum seeker or immigrant, sometimes these countries are at war. When a country is at war, sometimes it's actually the rich who may be able to afford to pay for that boat ride to leave the country. That does not stop them from being a refugee, someone fleeing from terror, fleeing for their life, looking for some safe place to settle. And I just want to argue that we need to be more welcoming with no hypocrisy. The fact that UK can even try to reach out to British citizens to tell them, accommodate Ukrainians, because they know that war, they know the story. There's so many wars which have been started by the UK and the US, like Iraq, like Afghanistan, whereby people
Syria.
fleeing there, they were not given that kind of benefit. They were not given that humane way of being received. We know there's war in your country. We need to be sympathetic and accommodate you. That campaign that I saw about Ukraine in the UK should be campaign for all countries. Under the auspices of United Nations, that's where we are. The law, international law, stipulates that you don't really have to claim asylum the first country you land on. You can claim it anywhere.
Yeah.
And also, why do you get that opportunity? Because if you are English speaking, it would be not fair for you to land on Arabic speaking country because you and them, they may not understand each other. If you can speak French, it only makes sense to be in a country that the language helps you to
But
speak.
let me play devil's advocate here. Of course, everything involves money. And, you know, according to reports today, that it's actually costing the taxpayers £6 million a day to house asylum seekers coming in, to the point now that reports today indicates that they're sending them to RAF's base to house them because it's become too much for the government. What about that? The fact that it's costing taxpayers this amount of money?
I think the government just pay lip service to these things. Let's be fair, because I think that if you truly want to address the issue and you don't want these people to come to your country, then let's stop the wars. You know, we cannot go and unravel a country in the name of war. It's always virtual signaling. We're coming to keep peace. We're coming for democracy, as we saw with the US there. It's always that. And yet the country gets torn to shreds. And when people flee, now we say they can't come to the United Kingdom. So I think the United Kingdom needs to take responsibility for, their part in these problems that are generating the asylum seekers in the first instance. So I think if they're really, truly serious about addressing the issue, rather than, because when we scream and we say, oh, it's costing us 6 million just to house them, we get everybody else angry in the country, because then, the taxpayer begins to wonder, why do we have to pay so much money to house these people? That's what the government are doing, if you should ask me. And I think that there needs to be a balance here. We've got to look at, how these statements and announcements are affecting our population. It's okay if you're Ukrainian, then we welcome you with open arms, and we're happy to pay people to house you, even though it's been said to be destructive for some people. Marriages have broken up, families have experience problems. Well, nobody's talking about that. Let's focus on those who ordinarily would not have been here in the first place anyway, had we left them alone. So I think that, that hypocrisy really needs to be addressed and addressed properly. And the lip service, has got to stop.
And one more thing before we wrap up, because we're really, really pushed for time. One thing that we need to address is that of Nigeria. We had elections all the way back in February. February. It seems very, very long. It seems like a long time ago now. But it has not ended yet, even though we have a president-elect. The leader of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has petitioned the Supreme Court. And I just want to just touch on the importance of this particular elections for Nigeria.
Very important. Yes, it was in February. They had 21 days. They were told, if you're not happy with the result, go to court, and you had 21 days to do that. And so two of the opposition parties, Atiku is also in court. PDP are in court, and so our Labour Party. And I think it's really important, because I think that, again, it's about our democracy. Things have been happening whenever we have elections, and they've been able to go and nobody doing anything about it. But I think this is a real test for the country, real test for our democracy, real test for the process, real test for the judiciary, and for all involved. And it is not just those two that are in court. You've got class actions that are coming also right across the country. People are coming together and also filing cases to say, we are not happy with the results. yes, the president-elect is there. Nigerians will say that is INEC's president-elect, but people are not happy and they are, expressing their rights.
Julius, I know you've been watching this with a close eye on what's happening.
We've been protesting. I'm just
Julius.
It's the spirit of power to the people. The thing is that what concerns me most with the Nigerian petition is the length of time it's going to take.
It's supposed to take 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
You know, in Kenya, 14 days. That's the difference. 14 days and you have a ruling. That's the only difference. That's
So you want to show
because
off now.
actually 6 months you are sitting on the thrones of reigns of power. So for someone to tell you, hey, Mr. Tinubu, it's time to leave, you'd be like,
His people are protesting. They've decided that they're going to protest until the day of inauguration. So every day they're out. I'm confused about that because one.
Protesting about what though? You won.
I think they're protesting against people that are protesting against them.
okay. I think if he's going to be inaugurated, it will be very difficult to have a ruling that kicks him out. He will not. He will just continue to stay. I think the president comes with a lot of power.
It does. It
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
It does. It's going to be interesting. It's very because
It's interesting
they
to watch. 6
yeah,
months.
21 days to file, and then they've got 21 days to respond, and then the hearing at the tribunal. They were struggling to serve them papers, so they had to go to court to get the court's permission to be able to serve papers on the APC and their candidates or president-elect. And so all of that's been taken care of now. So let's see.
We'll see.
But then just quickly on what Julius is saying, because this is not the first time that election petitions have happened, right? So clearly, you can more or less preempt what's bound to happen. And the process can be made much more swifter than, waiting 6 months, X amount of time to get any results or to hear anything from the courts.
Well, I mean, yes, but this is probably one of the, if you ask me, one of these strongest election petitions that we've ever had, because it's not just a matter of counting the votes or looking at who voted and who didn't, where it's a whole raft of, did he have the right in the first place to contend as an aspirant to stand? And did his vice also, have that right to do that? Did INEC follow the process? Atiku is mostly about INEC following the process. So the petitions are very, very strong.
All right. Well, unfortunately, that brings us to the end of this show. We say a big thank you to Priscilla and Julius for coming in. And of course, you for watching. All being well, we'll be back here tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow, next week, actually. It's gone quick. Next week. Until then, it's goodbye from us.